What does it mean to be triggered? It's a very common term that people like to use in therapeutic settings, and especially when it comes in regards to relationships. When someone says they're triggered, most likely what they're trying to imply is something that they experience, most likely an external experience, caused some type of internal struggle and conflict, which resulted in some uncomfortable emotions, which could be sadness, anger, guilt, hurt, shame. A trigger is ideally just that. It is when we have a unresolved and repressed traumatic experience or a repressed emotion that we haven't fully released yet or released in its entirety. Now, this happens because when someone is not allowing themselves to acknowledge a particular experience that happened, or they haven't resolved it in their unconscious mind is going to create what I would like to call a problem in the form of a trigger. And it does that because our unconscious mind's main priority is to keep us safe and protected. Therefore, if you have a prior experience of feeling that your voice wasn't heard or your needs were not getting met, if there's a similar experience as an adult, then guess what's going to happen? Your unconscious mind is going to actually fire off that trigger so that way you can start to feel protected. Because these emotions that we feel, like the sadness and the anger, are very protective emotions that are trying to do something for us. And every time you get triggered, you're bringing that past experience into your present reality. And just think about that. Think about all the things that you went through in your past, and how if they're not resolved, they can affect you in your current present day. And then think about it this way. Your future is determined and dictated by where you are in the present moment. And I'm mentioning this because I want you to realize how powerful the past has over your entire life. Because your past is going to determine your present moment, and your present moment is going to determine your future. However, if your past is filled with unresolved loose ends, problematic scenarios, then your future is already predicted based off the things that you're still holding on to. One of my favorite ways to help people overcome their traumatic experiences and to no longer have those triggers. And I was trying to think of the opposite of trigger would be, let's say, no longer a fuse, let's say, is to travel into the unconscious mind and to pull up to the surface what is actually there that is creating the trigger itself. Because the moment you become aware of what it is, it gives you the power and the capability of resolving it. Now, if you're asking yourself, is it that easy, Ron? The answer is yes. It is that easy. The hardest part is actually just showing up and making it happen. What I do in my business is I help hypnotize clients to help them resolve the problems that they have, because the problems that they have may not be problems for anybody else. The reason I say that is because problems all exist in our mind, and everyone's mind is formulated and created differently and programmed differently. So all you're doing in hypnosis is you're programming your mind to be more empowering by pulling up all the problems in the unconscious mind, so that way you can consciously resolve it to be in a better way. To give you an example of this would be if someone wanted to amount to $1 million, let's say. However, they're struggling to make any type of money. There's a conflict right there. And that conflict is typically going to be because unconsciously there's a different belief than what they consciously believe. Using hypnosis, it allows an individual to pull the unconscious belief up So that way they can cause a resolution, create a resolution with the conscious belief of being a millionaire versus whatever the unconscious belief is. Because in hypnosis, all that's really happening is the unconscious mind and the conscious mind are communicating with one another. Outside of that, it's almost as if you have the conscious mind, unconscious mind that are sharing the same, let's say, sharing the same house, though they never speak to one another. And if they don't speak to one another, they can't come to any resolution or agreement if there is a conflict. That's what happens. That's how hypnosis works. And if you're someone that's interested in overcoming any problems that you have, then what I suggest you do is go ahead and check out my website, duronsingh.com, book a free call with me, and that way you can kind of get more information about hypnosis and I can learn more about you and see how I can help you overcome whatever problem that you're dealing with.